and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. Today we are doing a book review. This is not a book about autism at all, but Dara McAnulty, the writer of this book, is autistic, and he does discuss autism in the book, but that's not the key point. The main point of the book is that it's about nature, and it's really cool. So this book was written when Dara McAnulty, the author, was 17. In the back of the book, he is described as an autistic naturalist, conservationist, and activist from Northern Ireland. If you go onto his website, you'll see there's a lot more happening now. He won a lot of awards for this. He also has a couple of other kids' books, and he's doing a lot more stuff now, so he has even more awards. And he's currently studying in Cambridge. As I said, this isn't a book about autism, but I want to discuss it because it does give us an autistic perspective of the world. In addition, Dara is a superb writer. And considering the fact that he was only 17 when he wrote this, wow, I really want to encourage more people to read his work. His way of writing is just so beautiful, and he just captures places and things so well. It's just a stunning writer. So if you love nature, you definitely need to buy this book. It's so, so good. But today we're gonna read 4 or 5 little bits from the book. And some of these bits do include his writing about nature, but I've really focused on his writing about autism. Remember, he's 17, he had a lot of trouble in school, and he's moving house at one point in this book as well. So I think you probably can imagine. It's not a fun time, exactly. I'm not going to really go over very much about what's happening in the book or what the traits are that are covered in the book, because I think it's kind of self-explanatory. So we're talking about moving house here. If anyone's moved house before, I think you can imagine where we're going with this. I've been in complete denial about moving house. Tomorrow, though, we're going house hunting in County Down in Castlewellan. Oh yeah, he lives in Northern Ireland, by the way. A small town 6 miles from our new school in Newcastle, which Mum and Dad say is too expensive for us to live in. I'm not sure if I feel really annoyed about the whole thing, or whether that tickle I sometimes get about it is a sign of the excitement there might be in starting over again. The opportunity to reinvent myself. Mum notices my mood shifting. I give her my best broad grin and a hug. It's not easy for any of us, but she and Dad will do most of the work and the worrying. Every day, ever since I can remember, Mum has sat us all down, and explained every situation we've ever had to deal with. Whether it was going to the park, to the cinema, to someone's house, to a cafe, every time, all manner of things were delicately instructed. Social cues, meanings of gestures, some handy answers if we don't know what to say, pictures, social stories, diagrams, cartoons. Many people accuse me of not looking autistic. I have no idea what that means. I know lots of autistics, and we all look different. We are not some recognizable breed. We're human beings. If we're not out of the ordinary, it's because we're fighting to mask our real selves. We're holding back and holding in. It's a lot of effort. What's a lot more effort, though, is the work Mum did and does still so lightheartedly. She tells us it's because she knows. She knows the confusion. That's why she and Dad will be doing the worrying about moving, and why Mum will be doing all the planning and mind mapping, and will somehow know how everything fits together. I'm lucky. Very lucky. So one of the great things about this book is that Dara's mum is autistic, and he has 2 siblings. They're both autistic too. So even though his dad is neurotypical, everyone else in the rest of the family is autistic. And his mum has really obviously made a conscious decision to gather their parents about how they're going to manage that. She's a really amazing mum. And there's some sort of healing knowing that kids growing up today are having a very different parental experience. We're on an outing to measure chicks, and he's basically with a bunch of people who are all really excited about nature and really excited about what they're going to do today. Dave gives me the job of writing in the logbook. It feels good to be useful, and I take great care to get all the information correct as the chick is tenderly weighed, measured, ringed, and tagged. It's a technological ballet, not surgical or invasive, and afterwards the chick sits on the ground as if it was still in its nest, quite unfazed, its head bobbing. Then the process starts over again. 2 more chicks are lowered in the orange bag, weighed, measured, ringed, tagged. I find the whole operation mesmerizing. This delicate interaction between birds and people. The closeness of one species to another doesn't seem quite right somehow, and yet completely enchanting. Perhaps I'm just not used to it. Without realizing, I start talking to the people around me. Simon, Dave, Kendrew. I feel at ease. This is so rare. They aren't teasing or confusing me. I ask questions which are given detailed, intelligent answers, and it feels as if I've been dipped in a golden light. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to be, surrounded by kindred spirits, doing useful things with care, knowledge, and clarity. Surely this is enough to quench my overactive brain. Surely this would mean I'd be happy. My endless need for facts and hunger for information don't necessarily fill me with ease. This is different though. For here and now, I'm working and seeing and feeling, and it is more than enough. When we were finished at the first nest, we are led to another site, first through a field of willow herb, buzzing and humming with life. I get momentarily distracted by red admiral butterflies and carder bees. I inhale the delicious scent of late afternoon. Moving onwards, we enter another dense plantation where the terrain is tougher. With higher and thinner trees, it becomes clear that climbing up to the second nest is going to be much trickier. Dave suggests we spread out around the base of the trunk, in case the birds jump. I look up. The trees are like spindly witches' fingers, swaying as if casting spells. Suddenly, 4 birds jump, and one of them is heading right at me. My heart jumps. We scatter as they land, and I step back as Amir and Kendrew catch them and bring them safely into the ringing station so it can begin again. Wing measuring with a ruler, weighing a bird in a bag attached to a scale, leg banding, a colour band on one leg and a British Trust for Ornithology ring on the other. Attaching the satellite bag with ribbon delicately on the back of the goshawk. It might sound robotic and innocuous, but to me it's miraculous and exciting. I start to shiver while I'm watching the chicks. I realise I've not eaten since morning, and we hadn't had time or the foresight to remember a packed lunch. Without food to burn, my body feels the cold seeping in. I keep watching, listening, recording. It helps keep the hunger at bay. Dave asked me to hold one of the birds, and as I bring it close to my chest, its body heat illuminates me. I start to fill with something visceral. This is who I am. This is who we all could be. I'm not like these birds, but neither am I separate from them. Perhaps it's a feeling of love or longing. I don't know for certain. It's a rare feeling, a sensation that most of my life, full of school and homework, doesn't have the space for. The goshawk wriggles. I settle it down and stare into its eyes again. As it grows older, the baby blue will change, become a bright and deep amber. I start to imagine it as an adult sailing through the trees, cutting through the air, wings tucked tight, swerving at breakneck speed, building a nest for its young. Will I come back to see it again? I hope this chick will survive. Oh, it's so good. I wanted to read that longer one because it really gives you an idea of how he writes about nature. For me, that's the really thrilling part of these books, is how he writes about nature. These tiny wild things lit up the overcast day at Murlough Bay. And as I lay on the sand listening to the waves, I promised not to lose myself again. I must stop thinking about taking my own life. I don't want to imagine the world without me. I vow never to let it go this far, to talk to my family if I start holding on to the sadness. The whole filming thing, the comparing, the validating, perhaps it's because there are deeper wounds. Maybe I use it all as an excuse. It's difficult to explain the weight the bullies have left over the years. I am marked by them. I don't want to be. Without realizing when it's happening, I'm consumed, drawn under. It eats away my joy. How can I overpower it? How do I know they won't hurt me again? To play my part in fighting for the natural world, I must start by smashing stereotypes. Every day I puff out an invisible black smoke, cooling and purifying my heart, trying profoundly hard to become me again. It will take time. I will have to be patient. That's really hard. It's really hard dealing with bullies and everything. And he does talk about that a lot more in the book, like coping with it and recovering from it. He doesn't really go into suicide very much, but it does come up a couple of times. It's just a little one. When we, by we, I mean autistics, get interested in something, most people would call it an obsession. It really is not an obsession, though. It's not dangerous, quite the opposite. It's liberating and essential to the workings of my brain. It calms and soothes, gathering information, finding patterns, sequencing, and sorting out is a muscle I must flex. I prefer the word passion, yes, and it's absolutely essential that we get to follow our passions. I agree. And last one, this a little bit longer. The skies cleared today, breathing light into the continuous grey of previous dripping days. It feels like we haven't been out for a proper walk in weeks, a claustrophobia compounded by the end of year tests and the ashen weather. We've all been going a little crazy. I've still been walking through the dankness, early mornings, up the hill in the dark, as far as the horse trail in the forest park, and back again. Brief moments of escape into the rain. The rush of wind always blows away the lethargy and apathy that builds between walls at home and in school. It's a massive relief when news of an outing spreads through the house. We're going out to Rostrava, the fairy glen, the whole family, Rosie too, that's the dog, in her purple spotted thermal coat. Granny lives close by, so we're going to have dinner with her afterwards. In my early days, a new plan like this would have meant absolute brain chaos. It wouldn't have been possible. Quick transitions were pain-thrusting. Processing quickly seems so natural to most people. For me, it was blood-curdling. Now, with gentle teaching from Mum, which required full explanations of outings and lots of planning, I can manage spontaneity with much more ease. I don't think people realise what needs to happen behind the scenes so we autistics can look like we're doing all right. Mostly, though, we hold it in, so controlled until we reach a safe space. Then we release the pressure. A rushing river and an easy stroll. I think of how Virginia Woolf's characters in Mrs. Dalloway are bound together by the act of walking outside in London. My intertwining isn't with people, but with the elements, with nature, and it has become inseparable from my daily life, my own story. I've been interacting with people, though, more so than at any other period in my life. The eco group at school has grown to over 20 students from all year groups. And then there's Coding Club, the Amnesty International group at lunch, as well as wanderings with my friends at break. Yes, friends is plural. On the surface, life seems normal, but my thinking has started to delve more deeply. Because I'm not worrying about the day-to-day so much, I've freed up space to think, to dream, to wander inwards. It's intoxicating. Spring and summer, the seasons of sun and daylight, brought me despair. Darkness has brought me comfort and healing. I don't socialize in the way other kids do, meeting up after school, Snapchatting, bickering about YouTubers. I'm just not built to make small talk like that, and at the moment, I'm pleased I'm not. There is so much to distract us from ourselves and the nature around us. Although it doesn't mean I don't like video games, we need to be three-dimensional human beings, don't we? Multi-layered. And our connection to nature can combine with technology. There's no need to isolate us teenagers by constantly berating our digital habits. And if you're going to, please check your own habits first. Instead, provide opportunity and space for us to explore and give us an education system that acknowledges the natural world as our greatest teacher. It's so good. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Definitely go read this book. He does have a website as well that you can find out more information about what he's up to, what he's been doing. He is a very inspirational person, I think. We'll probably cover him in the inspirational series at some point. But he's just such a good writer. I hope you got that. Both writing about nature and writing about his autism and how his autism impacts his life and how his mother is working so hard for them all to grow up just who they are, just completely who they are, is healing and inspiring. So definitely take a chance to read this. It's really, really good. Another thing I would suggest, if you're reading books about autistic people, you can do this if you have already been diagnosed, but especially if you haven't been diagnosed yet. I would suggest getting those little sticky tabs, and every time something happens in the book that you relate to, or they talk about a feeling that you have had or an experience that you've had that is related to autism, put a sticky tab in it. If nothing else, it gives you a picture by the end of the book of how many ways that you are similar to other autistic people. You are not alone. But the other thing it can be really helpful for is helping you determine what you need to say at diagnosis. It helps you identify and connect traits and experiences so that you can really say, no, I am autistic. Here's the evidence, because you've got some idea of the stories that connect us, the ways that we are the same. So it can be really helpful to read autistic writers, even if they're not explicitly writing about autism, because you can see, how am I the same as these people? How am I not alone anymore? Okay, I hope that's useful. See you next time. Bye.